Hey everybody, welcome back to Sniper Gains. Now, in our previous session, the ASIS session, we didn't find any good CRT setups. So I decided to go back to sleep, and now I'm up again. I'm going to try to see if we can find some good setups. I've been pre-scanning a few things that caught my interest, so we're going to check them out right now. Okay, I'm on CL. CL is setting up to have a pretty good setup to push down. If we take a look at the 1 hour time frame, it has the setup that I'm looking for. First thing, right here, it's below the solder dots that are above the hourly candles, which represents bearish momentum. And it's below the 50 EMA, which represents a bearish directional bias. So this is top pick number 1. But also, I have top pick number 2, which is the CSI or the Swiss franc. If I take a look at it as well, it already formed the fair value gap. It has filled the fair value gap. And all I'm waiting for is for it to simply hold or close below this yellow box. This could give me a 5.71 R. The other one, I'm going to use a late entry to try to get a 3.25 R. So I'm going to be eyeing both of these. So I'm estimating before fees, if I set it like this, I'll be spending 120 bucks. And if it hits here, it'll be 390 on crude oil. And for the Swiss franc, I'm going to be putting 3 minis if it gives me an opportunity to enter. And for that, I will be able to get $750. So I'm going to see which one is valid in about literally a few minutes. So let me just jump into the charts. I'm going to be eyeing both. So over here, I'm going to type in CL. I want to recreate what I've been doing on TradingView on Project X. So let me get started. We're going to go to the 1 hour time frame. I'm going to draw my boxes. So I'm going to remove that drawing. This right here, 5 o'clock, is going to be what I will be using as my designated accumulation hour for this setup. I'm going to draw my box. I'm going to put that in yellow. Okay, that's good. Then I'm now going to draw the vertical lines. I don't know if you guys can see it on the stream, but it's basically going to be around 6:53 a.m. Eastern time. So that's why I'm kind of rushing this, because I did not anticipate that it would form the setup right now. So that's why I'm kind of focusing on it a little bit harder than normal. But I'm still doing my setups. I want to draw where that fair value gap first appeared. And then I'm going to match where I want it to enter. So I always put my stop loss at the highest swing high on the manipulation hour, which in this case is going to be from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Eastern time. Do that. And if I take a look at TradingView is, I've set it at 3.25. So I'll go over here, take this, set it to 3.25. Oops. There we go. So at 3.25 for one contract would be 120. Plus the fees. So the fees for CL is going to be CL. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be 304. So 304 CL. So 304 equals 123.04. And that's for one mini. Put that there, so that way we know our numbers. And then over here it'd be 390 minus 304, 1 mini. That's going to be, let's do the math, 390 minus 3.04, 38696. Okay. So that does a calculation for CL, but the one that caught my interest also is the Swiss franc. So I'm going to open up the other tab. We got 4 minutes. So Swiss franc is going to be 6S. 6S. All right, 6S, Swiss franc. I'm going to move this here. I'm going to move that there. I'm going to take that out. So that way I'm not wasting time. Okay, so 6S, we're going to go to the 1 hour time frame. Now this one is touching the 50 EMA, but I still feel like it's still a really good setup to go short. So I'm going to take a chance on this one. This one would use 3 minis, but for using those 3 minis, I can be able to get 750. So this one's also a high priority for me. I just have to make sure it closes. And we have about 3 minutes to close. So I will most likely go for this trade first. And if this one stops me out, then I'll go for the CL trade. It's whichever gives me the best opportunity, the one that I'm going to be picking. So over here, it shows it was at 5.71. And let me take a look over here. It looks a little different though, because here it's showing it's 4.88. So that means I need to adjust. There we go, 5.71. I'll be risking 131.25 with 3 minis, which is perfectly fine. It's within my risk parameter. 3 minis. And now it's just a waiting game. I'm gonna start off by setting the limit sell 3 above here. And I have to kind of keep it up because this 55 candle has to close inside of the box. There's a good chance it will, but just in case it doesn't, I have to be alert. So that's something I'm going to have to be aware of. So we're going to wait it out. We got 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, we got to focus and see if it will hold. I'm going to be scanning any of the candle formations within this manipulation hour from 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern time to see if there's anything higher than this. They shouldn't be. And also, right over here, this is the bottom of the 5 a.m. accumulation hour right here. So that would be the goal. Now, because of the setup and the way it's looking, I'm just going to play it from here down. I'm not going to try to push it past just because, you know, 750 isn't something to just scoff at. It can be very lucrative if it's done the right way. So we are about to close. So I'm going to set and hopefully it'll hold and not just stop me out immediately. So that's the hope. We have 1 minute left. Just based on the price action, I feel it will definitely should close inside of the range. So now I've set my limit sell right here. When it triggers, I'm going to move my stop loss right here. So that way it protects me. And if I'm wrong, I would be losing 131.25 plus the cost of the 3 minis. So that is something to be aware of. It officially closed underneath. So let's just see if it'll hold. Now, it did fill the gap. But one thing I have to do is I have to, even if it fills the gap, I have to do my best to be patient for it to retest it again. Because I could have entered here, but it would have been unwise if I entered there, considering I don't want to put myself in a situation where, you know, it's going to cost me a lot of money, right? Like if I put it in here and it just stopped me out, I wouldn't have a chance. And it wouldn't even be a a fully good CRT setup. So my hope is that even though it has failed, hold on, even though it has failed the fair value gap that you see here, right, that it will most likely retest it again and then push down, because that would be awesome. Now, I can always use a late entry and maybe move it closer. The goal with any late entry setup is that you should be at least getting a 2R or higher. So I'm going to just take a chance and try to see if we can tap this again. If it's not giving me any kind of response, then I may have to adjust this limit sell. But ideally don't want to, because this is a really clean spot for it. So I'm just going to wait it out. And in regards to CL, even it's also has a pretty clean setup as well. Man, these are all good. These are all good. Oh, man. All right. This is definitely interesting. Which one should I go with? Should I go with the CL trade? Or should I go with the other one? Both are good. Both are good, because if it goes here, there's a good chance it'll go all the way down. But my gut is saying I should definitely take advantage of the Swiss franc trade. I just needed to move up just a little bit. But I'm definitely going to keep an eye on the other one too, because this is still a good setup. And the reason why is if you take a look at the hourly, it closed underneath the 5 a.m. accumulation hour. And if we were to move these out of the way, you will see it forms a really, let me move this here. It forms a really long wick, which is good because it shows a lot of selling pressure. It's right underneath the 50 EMA, so that's not bad either. So, I mean, technically, textbook-wise, this is pretty good, but this one is not that bad either. So, I'm going to take a chance on it. I'm going to take a chance on that one. Come on, buddy. Come on. All right. So, it's going to be a little bit more than the 131. But I'm going to set my stop loss here. So that would be 150, a little higher than I would have anticipated. But I'm still going to be walking out with like a 4.88R, which is not bad at all. The profit target is right here. So if it does its thing and holds and it hits here, that would be $731.25. So that's the trade I'm going to take for now, because when I take a trade, I can't be in multiple trades because it causes a lot of, anxiety when I'm trying to run two trades at the same time. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. But I am going to take a stab at this Swiss franc trade. I'm hoping it will hold. But again, one of my rules is if it goes and touches, I cannot be able to move or adjust anything. So this is locked in. So we take out the CL for now. And I'm going to try to keep the Swiss franc instead. And the way it's going, it might stop me out. That would suck, but it is what it is. So let's just go. And we're going to work on this and try to see what we can do. So we're going to go full screen. We'll see if this is going to be a winner or a loser. Hopefully it can hold, but if it can't, and then I have to let it go. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, based on how it's shooting up, it might stop me out. But if my intuition is right, hopefully it will hold and not pass this. The thing that would be very, let me not even speak it to existence, but let's just see what happens. Because once I'm in, I am literally in. I cannot touch anything. I have to let it do its job. So right now, we just want to wait it out. Hopefully it doesn't have to say order filled, but we'll see what happens. Now, would this be considered an A plus trade? I would consider it a B trade. And the reason why is because the accumulation hour is slightly above that 50 EMA, but everything else looks good in my opinion. So that's why I decided to take a chance on it. Now, I will say I wish I had just been a little bit more patient, so that way I would have been risking 131.25. But I think it's okay considering I have a good profit balance to kind of cushion me a little bit, that I can be able to risk $150 on the trade, So we'll see what happens with this one. I just have to trust the process. But the idea is in this case, because if you take a look at the account, whenever I'm at a balance above 4,000, I do it at around 10%. So if I do it at 10%, generally I want to be around 400 or less. So that way I can give myself room for error, because the one major flaw with this strategy is even when it forms that fair value gap, I haven't figured out a specific way to determine if that specific fair value gap will hold or not. I mainly use the 50 EMA and the SAR dots to kind of position me in a way where I have a good chance of catching a good CRT setup. But again, when it comes to stuff like this, I'm not even allowed to touch it at this point. This is part of the process. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So we just have to wait it out. If it's a loss, it's a loss. I got to record it. And yeah, so this is the part of the waiting. Just having to sit here and trust the process. So yeah, this is what it means to do this kind of trading. So we'll just wait it out. Regardless, I fully accept that 150 plus whatever the mini cost is. That is something I signed up for. And yeah, I'm gonna have to I'm kind of being a little aggressive because ideally want to catch a trade before New York session. So based on that, based on my time frame and the slots of time that I have right now, I think this is at least an okay amount to be risking for this trade. So we just wait it out. We'll see what the market does. And yeah, that's it. So I'm going to put this on pause real quick. I just want to see how the stream sounds, if everything's good. And I will be back. Okay, guys, I think this one is Dunzo. I think it will stop me out in just a few minutes. Just the way it's building up. Yeah, I think this one's going to be a Dunzo. So we just have to record it. Once it taps me out and it says order filled, I'll need to record it, and then we'll have to look for another setup for the day. I think it's the waiting that kind of sucks here, because it just needs either one more tick to take me out or one more tick to go down. So now it's just a waiting game. So right now we're just waiting to see if it'll say order filled, because it's like one more tick until I get stopped out. So just waiting to see if it'll say order filled. Okay, that's a loss. So we're going to have to move on. So that was a loss of 159.72. So we need to record that. So trade 1 was a short on Swiss franc. So the original risk was 150 plus 972 for the fees. For the fees for 3 minis. So that equals 159.72 loss. Okay. So what this means is, because I just took a loss, I need to do my calculation. So we started off the day with a balance, because we always base it on the balance that we started off the trading session with. So the original balance that we started off was, let me pull up my calculator real quick. So $4,204.64 plus 159.72 equals $4,364.36. So I'm going to put that in here. All right. $4,364.36. Now, that was the 6S short. Starting balance during London session. Okay. So with the next trade, I have a working balance left of, let's see, 159.72 of $240.28. So ideally, I want to try to split this in half and see if I can catch a trade. So remaining balance for the day is going to be 240.28. Okay. So now that we saw that that was a dunzo, basically I'm going to review what I was thinking. Let me see how CL is doing. Even CL would have been a dunzo too. Well, that's perfect. Oh man. All right. No problem. At least, and that's one of the things, like I was saying before, that I don't like to do two of them at the same time, because you just don't want to have a double whammy that quick. So with that being said, it's all good. we're going to have to look for another setup, and we have time. So we're just going to keep checking. I will take a look at silver. Let's see if silver is forming a nice setup that I can use. Let me see what that one was. So at least I have that recorded. I'm going to record this a little bit later. But yeah, that was a concern because I really thought it would hold, push down just because of the bearish sword dots, but it decided to just move up. It is what it is on that one. The other one that I also wanted to go with was the CL trade, which I did like about, what was it, like a few days ago. I had a really good one. But in this case, it seems like it wants to pop out of that 50 EMA and push. So can't really do anything at this point. So we'll just have to let that one go. So the best thing I can do in this case is look for other tickers, see if there's anything that stands out that I can take advantage of. I really like gold, but the problem with gold sometimes is it moves so hard that it doesn't give me a clean entry. So I usually will revert to silver to see if silver will give me an entry of some kind that I can work with. But at the moment, I'm not seeing any setup yet. So we'll have to pass it. When it comes to copper, I'm staying clear away from this just because there's a good chance this thing was going to drop pretty hard because of this gap and because gold is just plummeting right now. So I wouldn't feel too comfortable trading copper at all. Oops, what happened on that one? Oh boy. Let me pull that up. That was the 6J. Okay, 6J, 6J, 6J. Okay, I'm trying to see if this would be the right move. Okay, here's the situation I'm seeing on 6J. It looks like it's gonna take it out, like going to take out or go above that 50 EMA. Theoretically, it is also another setup. Let me see. I'm looking at it. I'm just trying to see if it makes sense. No, this is not a good play. I'm not touching that for right now. Yeah, especially the way it's breaking and staying so close. It's not a good play. So I'll just let that one go. Yeah, and also since this one's going up, I'll let that one go. Ideally, what I would do if I wanted to trade the FX list is to make sure that these SAR dots flip to the opposite side. Then I would feel more comfortable trying again. For the New York or the NQ and the ES, basically with the way these dots are coming very close to each other, to the hourly candles, I'm concerned that it will do a flip to fill this gap. And I don't want to take that chance, so I'm just going to stay away from that price action. And in the meantime, we'll just have to keep checking and seeing if there's any setup that might be awesome. Give me just a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, just in case you were looking at the stream, we did take a loss. We took a loss of $159.72. So, the idea behind this setup was when it filled this fair value gap that it will hold and not take out this swing high. Unfortunately, it took it out, but we minimized the risk. So, we had 159.72. But with that being said, I need to make sure that I have a remaining balance of $240.28 until I have to completely cut off trading for this session. Because basically, with what I'm doing, I have to follow my risk management rules. And the way it works is pretty simple. From 0 to $3,999, I'm risking about 250 to 300 bucks in a day, basically. Then anything above 4,000, I'm only able to risk 10%. So if I'm in the 4,000 range, I'll be risking $400 in a day. The max risk will be $400 in a day. Or if I'm at, like, say 5,000, the max daily risk is going to be $500 in a day. But I like to take it one step further and split that risk into thirds. The benefit of doing that way is it gives me 3 opportunities to try to turn a losing day into a winning day. And number 2, it means that when I take a loss or a hit, it's relatively going to be much smaller to my winners. So that's the key that I use to kind of make sure that I keep a high average win to loss ratio. So that way I stay profitable, even if my win rate is hovering between like a 40 to 50%. So now we just wait it out and try to see what we need to do next. Okay, so right now it appears that the yen and the Swiss franc are trying to push out of this 50 EMA. Now, I will say it's more like in a very weird consolidating phase. Like, it's not giving a crystal clear direction on the Swiss franc, but on 6J, it seems like it's most likely going to push out and go up, right? Because it's been going down for quite some time. It's been going down for like a long time. I mean, this has been a huge drop overall. So there's a good chance that it will most likely break past this 50 EMA, and then these sword dots will flip. And if it flips, then we might have a good entry on the upside. So we'll just have to wait it out and see. But I also am looking at gold. Gold is going down. There's no denying that. but I do need to see if it will give me an entry. Now, with gold, unfortunately, did not give me the entry that I've wanted. Early in the Asia session, I was hoping we could catch this entry because my entry was like right over here, but it just went up to here, held, and then just went down. So that didn't really qualify for my setup. I was hoping that this setup right here would have worked, but I was asleep at that time, so I took a look at it. It didn't show any setup where I could have entered using the 5-minute gap and fill method that I usually use. So this would have been awesome if there was a 5-minute bearish fair value gap inside of this candle right here, that 2 a.m. candle. But I'm hopeful that even as price is going down, that in the next 30 minutes, the next hourly candle hopefully can take out this swing high, form a bearish fair value gap to kind of continue the downward trend with gold, because the way gold is moving, it's most likely going to be pushing, in my opinion, the maybe 150s, by the end of the day. So there's still a lot of room for gold to keep going down, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. Okay, gold is basically touching that 100. Let's see if it'll go for 150. Okay, I am back. So, if you take a look, you'll see that GC or gold is going down right now. Now, the reason why this is important is because it means that there's a good chance it will keep continuing the downward trend. Because the thing about gold that I've noticed is that when it goes down, it goes down. And when it goes up, it really keeps going up. That's the characteristic of gold. Now, right here, I'm looking at gold. It appears that it wants to push up a little bit, but I'm anticipating it will push up and then drop. So we have about 11 minutes. We have about 11 minutes to go. So I'm kind of curious to see if within the next hour from 8 to 9, if it will sweep the top. If it sweeps the top, that will definitely catch my attention because ideally I want it to sweep this accumulation hour, which is the 7 o'clock hour, sweep it, close inside, form a bearish 5-minute fair value gap that I can enter on to drive it down. Because I feel like gold is going to keep plummeting, but we still need an entry that fits our CRT model. So I'm basically waiting to see if I'll see an entry in gold or if I'll see that entry in silver. I usually will get it on gold or silver. Depends on how it forms the candles. So I'm just going to wait on that. When it comes to the Swiss franc, again, with this one, it's most likely going to keep chugging up. So there's no real clean trade yet on Swiss franc. And when it comes to the yen, it'll still most likely push out of this 50 EMA. It's because of these SAR dots that are right over here. They're getting closer and closer to the hourly candles, which means that there's going to be a high likelihood that it will flip bullish. When it flips bullish, then I would definitely look into seeing if I can find a good trade on the yen. And then when it comes to the NQ and ES, I'm just staying clear away because you have a huge gap in price. And with these SAR dots getting closer and closer and closer to the hourly candles, there's a good chance it will do a flip. And if it does that flip, I don't want to be in that situation. So that's why I'm steering clear from it, because I don't want to put myself in a situation where there's a high likelihood that it will reverse on me. So yeah. Now CL, kind of disappointed with this one because I was hoping at least it would hold and continue, but CL is deciding just to keep moving up. But do you see, even with CL, you see how it formed this do you see with CL, do you see how it formed this gap? It filled the gap and now most likely is going to push up. That's the concern that I have about the NQ and ES. And I could keep going and leave this gap and you'll probably fill it another day. But I personally don't want to take that risk on NQ and ES. So these ones are just going to be on my no-no list. Let me not say it that way. These ones are going to be in my do not trade list for today only until like the next session, because this gap has to be filled. It has to be filled some way, somehow, especially when it comes to futures. They fill these gaps like no joke. So that's why I'm going to wait and see what happens next. And this one, there's nothing on that end. So yeah, now we have pushed 100 on gold. That's a big drop. Let me see what's going on that's causing gold to plummet so much. Let's see. CNBC.com. Dow futures rally 200 points on potential China trade truce. Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. All right, let's check this out. Stock futures jumped on Monday after U.S. and China officials cooled tensions over the weekend, laying the groundwork for President Donald Trump and China President Jinping to clinch a trade deal this week. Okay, that kind of makes sense. All right, so yeah, gold is going to take a pounding then. Oh my gosh. Hopefully gold will give us a good trade. But the way it's moving, I feel like it'll just keep pushing without giving me any entry on this one. But I'm hoping that SIL will give me that entry. So I'm more hopeful that SIL will give me an entry, but we'll see if gold will. So stay tuned. The HG trade, again, this is also another example of where I feel like it will most likely go down. That is even somewhat tempting to try to do a counter trend. Now, I don't do counter trend trades because I just don't like doing them. But if I was a counter trend trader and I did look at this setup, it would be a pretty clean setup to the downside. The risk is it could reverse on me, but the odds are it will most likely hit the target just because there's a gap. Basically right now, gold is plunging down. So there's a good chance that it will keep going down. But then it would be me violating a few rules. It would be me violating the 50 AMA rule. It would be me violating the SAR dot rule. It's just, I can't be doing that because if I start doing that, then it's going to mess up the edge in the long run. So I have to skip that trade and wait for a textbook setup. So that being said, we're just going to have to be patient, wait for a setup, an opportunity to occur. Because one of the things I've learned is you got to be patient and you got to relax, right? Because obviously, yeah, it's not fun taking a loss, right? Because, we've taken some hits the last week. I was more playing defense. Still came up on top. But obviously, I would prefer to catch those winning trades on that first trade. So that way we stack up wins much faster. But we got to keep our eye on the prize and just trust the process. Trust the process and just focus on using good risk management so we close the month strong. So that's the key thing that I want to focus on. It's just to close the month strong. In the meantime, while we're waiting for a setup, I can at least be logging this trade in TradeZella. So I'm going to go to trades. And then we're going to put in this order right here. So let's go to TradeZella. I'll do the journal entries later, whenever I get a chance. And then once I do, I'm going to post it back on the description of this live stream. So you can see everything. You can see my notes. You can see the reasoning behind why I took these trades. So yeah, I'm going to go to log in. So far this month, we've made $5,580. And the goal is we want to close the month strong. Ideally, 6,000 plus would be awesome. So we just have to wait it out. But in the meantime, I've got to record this so that way we are keeping an accurate record of our profit and P&L. So what I do is I'm going to go to add a trade. Now, if you don't have TradeZella, the cool thing about it is you can be able to add a variety of accounts in here. I just created two Topstep accounts. One was the evaluations, where I put all my combined results, and then the Topstep funded, where I actually put in my real XFA results. So this is considered an XFA trade. So we're going to click add trades. and we're going to let it load. We're going to go to futures and we're going to type in 6S. The cool thing about this system is it's able to correctly multiply or use the correct contract multiplier. Now, here we're just going to add the information. Since we went short on 6S, this buy side has to be sell, and then this has to be buy. Because whenever you short a stock, you're selling the shares. But then in order to get out of the position, you have to buy back the shares. So sell, buy. Now, if we take a look at this, since this is copy traded, so this one is the leader account. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. Let me do it one more time. But probably even more. Okay. So over here, I use 3 contracts. Oops. I use 3 contracts. Cost me $150 plus fees. That's $159.72, right? Now it's 3 on the account number 1, but it's also 3 on account number 2 because we copy traded. So because of that, when we go here, we have to put 6 because 3 times 2 accounts is 6. So 3 times 2, 6 contracts. Now, when it comes to fees, similar thing. 972 times 2 because we have 2 accounts. So 972 times 2 is 1944. So we go here, 1944. The expiration date doesn't really matter for me. I just always put it at the end of the month. I know it's probably obviously beyond that in an actual futures contract, but for this, it's just solely focused on just tracking the trade. Now, when it comes to this though, this part matters to me because I want to know when I took this trade. Now, if we take a look at Topstep, you'll see it's from 6:03 to 6:17. I'm in Texas, so this is Central Standard Time. So I'm going to go here. Click on 27. Click on 27. And then now I'm going to put in the numbers. So it's going to be 060323. So 060323. And then the other one is going to be 061739. 061739. Now for the price, we're just going to copy and paste. So this is the starting price or entry price. And then this is the exit price. So in total, we've lost $319.44. So now that takes a hit on our monthly P&L. So we're now at $5,270 in profit. So ideally, because I'm copy trading, I have to keep my risk very low and tight. Because when you're copy trading, you have a lot of money technically on the line. So you don't want to go crazy. You have to have a budget that you're willing to work with that makes sense. And for me, I know based on my numbers that I can only risk an additional $240.28 per account. So ideally, the smart move would be to take this $240, try to split it halfway. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough way I could get another trade if I had to. Because I always use 3 strikes I'm out policy every single time, no matter what, because it protects me from tilting an account. So we're going to see if we're going to find a good setup. But the key thing is I always need to record all the trades because I have to review them pretty much every week to see where I need to work on, where are the mistakes. Did I make any unnecessary losses? That's the key word, because there's certain losses that I consider just part of trading the system, but there are certain losses that I consider unnecessary. So we'll see what happens next. We have entered the new hour, so I'm kind of curious what the price action will be doing. So let's take a look. Ah, shoot. I don't like when it does that. Okay, so this is what I was looking to see. Now, this candle is going to be important. And then here's why. Because it has formed this bearish hourly candle. However, you can still see we have a pretty good distance between the parabolic SAR and the hourly candle. We're below the 50 EMA. So there's a good chance that this will most likely, how do you call it, sweep the buy stops over here. And if it does and forms a fair value gap for me to enter, I'm willing to do it. Now I'm also going to take a look at silver. Come on, silver. Come on, silver. Ah, man. Silver is going the wrong way. It's supposed to mimic what gold is doing. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with silver. But right now, my eye is on gold. Hopefully it'll give me an entry, because that will be awesome, especially if you can catch a trade with gold. Oh man, and it's a good risk to reward. You know, that's pretty good. Now, because I did take a hit on my first trade, okay? Since I did take a hit on my first trade, my main focus is just to focus on taking a base hit, meaning just to hit the opposing target. And you kind of see what I'm talking about, because when I'm down on the week and on the day, the next trade, I got to make it count. I mean, ideally, I want to make it count because I don't want to have to use all of my 3 strikes in a day. I cap it off at 3. And if you can't turn the losing day to a winning day with 3 attempts, then I just cut off the trade immediately in order to prevent me from tilting. Because if you tilt and you have this ego of you have to be right every single time, it can mess up an account. And my goal is to grow the account, not to feed my ego. So at this point in time, if I see a good setup that can lead to a 2R plus trade, I'm just going to focus on entering the trade, letting it hit that opposing target on the accumulation hour, and we call it a day. Now, ideally, I want to time it in a way where I can be able to have a 200 plus winning day, so I can count it as a winning day. Because in my original game plan, I've been wanting to try to get to that 5,000 amount or balance, so I can take $1,000 on both accounts, so I can have a $2,000 payout. But for that to happen, I need at least 3 more winning days of 200 plus. So with whatever trade I'm going to take, ideally I want to set it up in a way, even from an entry perspective, set it up in a way where I can walk out with about $200 if possible. So that's going to be unique. I'm going to see if gold will give me that opportunity today. I don't know. It all depends on the market. But the cool thing is, because of this government shutdown, we don't have any red folder news events. So that's going to be good, because it will allow me then to be able to trade into the New York session. Because one of the things I've noticed with my strategy is it tends to do well in the Asia session and in the London session. But when it comes to the New York session, due to news volatility, it throws it completely off. So I try to just stick to Asia and London. But for right now, because we're in a unique time when the government is closed, they're not getting as many red folder news events in the morning that affect the US. So with that being said, we just have to wait it out, see if it'll give us an opportunity. And if it does, awesome. So gold is doing something here. If we take a look, it's looking like it might push up, but we'll see. In the meantime, I'm looking at silver. It's also moving up as well. So I'm going to be paying a lot of my focus and attention on the metals, specifically silver and gold, because they have the highest chance to give me a clean setup, most likely a bearish CRT setup that I can take advantage of. Oh, shoot. Okay, so we're just eyeing both silver and gold. Now we have roughly around 40 minutes. So ideally, in the next 40 minutes, I want to see that this price action will sweep the top of this 7 a.m. accumulation hour. When it sweeps the top, I would ideally need it to form a bearish fair value gap before the 855 candle, at least by the 855 candle being formed, and it needs to close inside of the box again. If it can do that, then I'll be able to find a nice entry where I can enter and push it towards the bottom of the box. And hopefully that the setup will have to position it in a way where we can walk out with at least 200 plus. So that way we can stack a winning day for the month, for the day, right? So that's the goal. However, I can't force it to happen. I just have to kind of flow with it to try to see if silver and gold will kind of give me that opportunity. If it does, regardless of whether it's going to be a winner or a loser, I will take that trade. I just have to wait for it to form that manipulation hour candle, form that bearish fair value gap, and it has to close. If those three things are present, then I will take the trade. Obviously, I will use good risk management, but that is a part of the process. Okay, so right now we're taking a look, try to see what is going on. So silver is about to sweep the top of the 7 a.m. candle. Now, the reason why I have silver and gold, or I'm eyeing both of them, is silver has a tendency to closely follow gold's price action. So if gold is going down, silver is going down. If gold's going up, silver is going up. Now, the reason why sometimes I'll take a look at silver a little bit more is it gives me an entry sometimes that I can take advantage of. But even here with gold, I think we may have an entry, a possible entry. So we'll see what happens. Now, key thing, since we took a hit of 159.72, if we're doing this and we're like trying to find a good setup, we need to make sure that it will get us at least 200 plus. So 200 plus 59.72. We would need at least a trade that can give us a profit between 400, ideally like around 420 to about 450. Depends on how many contracts we have to use, but ideally that would be the target, like a $400 to a $500 profit. So that way, if we can catch something about about 400 to 500, then we would be above the 200 requirement for the day. And if we're above it, then we'll just essentially need 2 more winning days to kind of push that P&L. Because the goal is as soon as it hits 5K, I'm going to take $1,000 payout on this account. And then I'm going to take another $1,000 payout on this account. But we do have to make this count. Because the idea is if I can do it in that manner, we would have taken, at least in terms of payouts this month, I would have taken then technically 2,500. That's not bad. That's like at least a good 2 weeks of work, like the regular job. So that is the goal. Obviously, I will always prioritize the system more than the money, right? Because I don't want to be so obsessed with the cash that I start to deviate from the system. Because once you start to deviate, then that's when things start to, break down. But for me, I choose to stick to the system first. And by sticking to the system, the money will follow. But I do have to practice good risk management every day and just keep doing my best. So I'm just going to keep an eye on gold, keep an eye on silver, try to see what we can do. Now, I may be slightly aggressive on gold if I can get an opportunity. So we'll see what happens. But ideally, I would want that 55 candle to close, just because in my journal entry, I've noticed that if I can at least start to make sure that they close inside, it will be better. So hopefully it'll set it up in a way where if it sweeps here, it will form that fair value gap, but it will close inside. So that way I can have a chance to trade it. But in the meantime, I'm still going to keep an eye on gold, and I'm going to go to the charts, and we are going to start to set up for the MGC trade. So we'll have that here. This one, I'm going to deal with it later. I'm going to type in MGC. So I'm going to be focusing on two of them. First one is going to be MGC itself, the original. So I'm going to draw the box. So this box is more focused on trying to see how it will sweep this hourly candle, the 7 a.m. Eastern accumulation candle, accumulation hour candle. So I want to see how it will sweep that candle. So one sec. It has already officially swept it. So it definitely has my attention. Now, because this is gold, gold is a fast mover. So that's why I'm saying I don't know if I'm going to be aggressive with gold or not. So I'll keep an eye on it, and you'll kind of see why I'm saying that. So I'm going to go to the next window. Now in this window, I want SIL, micro silver. So with this one, I'm also going to take a look at it. Same process. So 7, 8 to 9. And I'm just going to be looking at both. So we're going to go on the 5-minute time frame. Now for SIL, it has not swept yet. But for gold, it has. But we want to see if it will give us a favorable price action. So I'm going to move that here. Now I'm trying to be as textbook as possible because I want to improve. So one of the things that I will say that I am struggling with is that I feel like it will form that bearish fair value gap, fill it, and then go without me. That is the biggest concern that I do have, but I'm going to focus on trying to make sure that I wait until that 55-minute candle is closed. So that way this can be an official push to the downside or a sweep of the 7 a.m. candle. So I just got to keep waiting, and I'm just going to keep eyeing what happens here because I've seen that in the long run, it's better for me to wait for the accumulation hour to officially close, then enter on the trade. So I'm going to have to keep a strong eye on that. And I also have the SIL trade as well as a backup. But my main focus is always going to be on gold because gold is what I like to call the king of the metals. The way it moves tends to drive the movement of the other metals as well. Okay, right now it has gone. It is sweeping the 7 a.m. buy stop liquidity. It's pushing hard, which is good. I'm eyeing to see if there is any possibility. All right, I probably should be on MGC on this one. 1 second. So what I'm looking at is trying to see if the MGC trade will give us that 5-minute bearish fair value gap. Based on the price action, I'm not seeing any entry. However, we do have a few minutes where it could possibly create a 5-minute bearish fair value gap. So here we go. Right now it's 8:35, right? So one of my key rules is it needs to form a 5-minute bearish fair value gap in a bearish CRT within the manipulation hour, which is between 8 to 9. And the key thing is it has to happen within that hour. So whenever you're on the 5-minute time frame, each hour closes at 55. So here it's 8 o'clock. So by 8:55, I should see that bearish fair value gap. So the last basically 15 minutes, or it would be 8:45, then a bearish fair value gap, then 8:55 to close and leave the gap open. If that does happen, then that could be possibly be a trade. But if there's no bearish fair value gap, then there is absolutely no trade. So we're going to keep an eye on this to see if we will catch one. But if not, it's all good. We'll just have to keep hunting and trying to see if we can find one. Okay, looking at the yen, try to see what it wants to do here. I'm also looking at the Swiss franc. So over here, it's kind of interesting because it's forming a really strong bearish candle. But I do know the SAR dots are pretty close. So this kind of situation is kind of confusing. So I don't even want to try to trade this right now. I'm just mainly looking to seeing what the other tickers are doing. Okay, so now we're in the critical time slot, 8:45. So ideally, as it keeps going up and up and up, we want to make sure that the fair value gap is able to close below here. So we want to keep an eye on it and see if there will be a fair value gap that's formed. So right here is the situation that I'm dealing with. Now, as you can see with price, it looks like it'll want to keep going up. And if that's the case, that's not a problem. I can always adjust the accumulation hours. I just have to wait for it to do its thing. As you can see, it's pushing up. So most likely the odds are that this candle is not going to be able to hold. So if it's not going to be able to hold, we may have to look for another accumulation hour to use. But again, the time is not yet over. When it hits the new hour, then we will shift to a different accumulation hour, meaning this hour, the A, this will become the new A hour or the accumulation hour. But if it's somehow is able to form that bearish fair value gap by 8:55, then we have an entry. If it can't do it, then we don't have an entry. Okay, as it's going up, I'm going to pay attention to silver, see what silver will do. So it's moving up, it's pumping up. Now, if gold some way, somehow, with the 750 candle forms a huge bearish fair value gap, then we might have an entry. But the way it's moving, I think it will blow past this and would have to adjust for a different setup. Because the odds are that it will most likely close above this box, and at that point we don't have a valid CRT setup that we can take advantage of, because it would take a lot of bearish momentum to drive price all the way down here. But I will keep an eye on silver though, because silver could easily just pop, form that bearish fair value gap to keep going. But I need to see that MGC, even on its own, on this candle in particular, has a huge drive down, just like a really strong push down. If it doesn't push down very hard, then I'm more likely to skip it, because it has to be closing within this range anyway for it to even count as a valid setup. So we'll see what happens. We have about 5 minutes for it to decide, and based on its price action, I'll be able to decide whether it's worth taking or not. Okay, with 3 minutes, this is most likely not gonna close all the way down here, but we'll still give it time just to see if it does. Okay, we got 2 more minutes. Let's see if it will close down below this fair value gap, or if it will form a bearish fair value gap. The odds are it'll probably not, but you never know. We have 2 more minutes left. Okay. So let's see here. We have 1 more minute left. I really don't think it will pass and form that gap, but if it does, I'll be crazy. For silver, the only thing about it is it didn't sweep the top. If it did sweep the top, maybe would have a special play, but without that sweep, we can't take the trade. So this is just a situation where we may have to adjust to the new accumulation hour. And by adjusting, we'll probably be able to catch a clean setup downwards if gold cooperates with us. As you know, gold can do its own thing. So we got to keep waiting. Okay, so based on that, then this would already be an invalid CRT setup because it doesn't have the 5-minute bearish fair value gap, which is not a problem. So what we do in this situation is we're going to adjust to the new hour. So the new hour is going to be this candle right here. That's going to form or fully close in 5 minutes. So we're going to put that here. That is 8 o'clock. Gonna move that there. Gonna put our vertical lines here and here. Same process with SIL. We're gonna do the same thing. Move the drawings, switch it up. So the new accumulation hour has shifted from this hour, which is 7, to now this hour, which is 8. Then I'm going to put in my vertical lines. So from 9 to 10, that's what I would consider the new accumulation hour. So we're going to wait for this one to finish, do its thing, see if it will now give us an entry for us to enter either on silver or to enter on gold. Right now, I'm taking a look at the metals, trying to see what that price action will look like. So let's say over here, right? This is the new accumulation hour at 8, from 8 to 8:59. Now in this manipulation hour, the goal is I wanted to sweep, which it's already doing, but to close inside of the box. And within this close, I should see a 5-minute fair value gap formed within this hour between 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. So that's the focus. So this is on gold. So if gold does pick up momentum and doesn't close within this gap, then we will have to figure out something else to do. But while this one is cooking, right, SL is going to be doing the same thing. We are also going to try to take a look at other tickers that we can work with. Now, there are two that catch my eye. The first one is going to be this one right here with crude oil. So crude oil has finally done the flip that I was looking for. It has a SOAR dot right underneath. So technically, anything going this way would be more of a bullish bias, and both the 50 EMA and the SOAR dot are confirming that, which is good. The second one that I'm also eyeing is going to be the Euro FX futures. So the goal is I would want it to sweep the bottom of the 8 a.m. accumulation hour, sweep the bottom, form a 5-minute fair value gap, and still close inside of the box. So if it can do all three combos, then I can look to enter the trade to go up. So these are the two that do catch my interest in the bullish direction. But then gold and SIL, I'm more looking at them to see if it'll continue the bearish downward trend. So there we go. It's doing something. It's doing something. Okay, so I'm taking a look at MGC. Now it's looking like it's going to form a nice bearish fair value gap, which is good. Now the key thing is, well, the key concern is, should I wait until 55 or should I take the trade if it forms a fair value gap? So this is where I'm going to have to take a chance and definitely try to enter early. I hate the idea of doing so. I hate it so much. Hate it. But if it forms that fair value gap at that price, I'm willing to try to take a chance. That's if it does. So I'm just going to move this to the side, try to see if it will form a fair value gap. Because if it does, I would definitely be willing to try to take a stab at it. 53 times 2 is 106. 106. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it there at that level. 106. So that way I'm not over risking. So 106 plus how much it costs to trade MGC. MGC. Let me go over here. MGC. It's 124. So 124 times 2 is 248. 248. Okay. Yeah, I really want to be in that. Okay. 248 for times the 2 contracts, 2 micros. That is it should be like 108.48. Let me check. Let me do my math. I'm sorry, guys. So 106 plus 248 should be 108.48. Okay, cool. 108.48 is definitely good risk for me to take on. And then if I am right, it'd be 4.64. And if I am right about gold's bearish movement, I'm going to put it at, if I did it like at a 109, so 109 would be 200, 200, was it? So 109, see, 109 times 2 is 218, 218 minus 159.72 is 58.28. But if I can push it a little bit further, then that would be good. Or I could just go for a base hit and just go straight up to here for 4.66. And that would be 53. So 53 times 2. And then times 4.66 is 493. I think in this case, I'm just going to go 493. Because if I do 1 minus 59, you'd be at 334.96. And that's still a winning day. That's the game plan. We're going for those 2 micros. So we are just going to have to patiently wait and see if this fair value gap will hold. Hopefully it does. It does seem pretty big. And I'm hoping it holds that zone right there. Now, obviously, I would love to kind of catch like a much bigger trade, but at the end of the day, I have to kind of follow my game plan. Because obviously, if I follow my game plan, it will allow me to be positive on the week, positive on the day. So I definitely do not want to delay. Haha, that rhymed. But we're still going to try another stab at it. And this time, we will see what happens next. So we can only use 2 micros. So the risk is like 108.48. But if I'm right, we would walk out with a little bit of cash at around about 466 bucks. But let me confirm it here real quick. I'm going to go to MGC. Take a look at this. I'm going to go here. Now, I will say that this is almost an A+ setup, with the exception I'm violating one important rule. And that rule that I'm violating is I'm not waiting until 55. It's just with gold, I really do not want to miss that chance to take that drive downwards with gold. And that is something that I'm willing to deal with the consequences if I'm not willing to wait. But I do have a good reason, because when gold moves, it moves pretty fast and you just don't want to miss out on that trade. So everything is calculated to where it should be. It's still going to be a good risk management. So that's the most important thing. You know, risky 102, coming out for 494. So we'll definitely be well above the 200 if it holds. If it holds, I am absolutely going to take that position to go down. So let's just see what happens. We have everything pretty much set, and we'll just have to be patient and wait for that setup. So we should be good. Because remember, we're trying to make sure we split this 240 in half or close to it. So that way we can still get a chance for one more shot. And if that does not work out, then we're donezo. No more trades. So this would be trade number 2. And we have about 2 minutes. I'm hoping it doesn't do what it did last time, where it went in and just took me out immediately. And that sucked. But just because I've taken a hit does not mean I deviate from the game plan. We stick to the game plan no matter what. That's what it requires to trade this system. So I'm in it and I'm waiting to see if it will maintain this fair value gap. That's an important gap right there. So we have 1 more minute left. So I'm going to wait for it to at least say 8:15 just to confirm that this is the true gap, and hopefully it will hold. I've taken a look to make sure I've set my stop loss at the highest point of the manipulation hour. And now all I have to do is just wait for it to say, well, in this case in Central Standard Time, or Central Eastern Time, EST, I need it to say 8:15 or 9:15. If it says 9:15, we've got a trade. So I'm looking at that. I'm also going to be looking at SIL, similar situation with SIL. If gold doesn't give me an entry, SIL will. So again, with that one, I will most likely be using just 2 micros, because it should be sharing the same risk like gold does. But I'm going to just keep both of them at bay. So here we go. Now, based on that, I'm going to go with gold first, try to see if we can catch an entry. I'm going to move it over here. So I've set a stop loss for gold. And since gold is the mover, or like what I like to call the king of the metals, what I'm anticipating is that gold will go up, fill this gap, respect the gap, and push it down. That's the hope. But there are no guarantees with something like this. And whatever happens, happens. Now, there is one thing that does concern me a little bit, is this. So 4.86 divided that by 2. That's a 2.43. So 2.43, so right about there. So 2.43 with 51 times 2, because I'm trying to see if I can be able to catch a really big trade with MGC. And if I can, that would be awesome. So my theory is, because gold has a way of just keep pushing price down aggressively, that I can be able to push past the box. So what I am anticipating is at least I'm going to raise my stop loss halfway. So that way, if it were to hit here and does a strong push upwards, that it hopefully doesn't have to tag this in. This would allow me to really push the trade past the 4.88 zone, or R and see if I can push it to a 10R, because in the past I've seen these trades hit 10R on multiple occasions, and today seems like there could be an opportunity to try to hit a 10R trade. But even if it comes to worse and worst situation possible, what I can do is I can use a trailing system that I've developed called the Sniper Gain 5-minute trail. If the opportunity presents itself, I'll show you how I execute it in real time. But the idea is we'd first have to fill this gap, push price down towards the box, and then I'm going to raise my stop loss to the 2.43R. So just in case price decides to shoot back up again, I can still close for 2.43R, which is still good. And more importantly, that 2.43R with the 2 micros. So with the 2 micros right now, 2.43R, like 2.42, either 2.42. If you do the math, you still walk out with 242. 242 minus the 159.72, you're still going to be positive on both the day and the week. So 242 minus 159.72 is you'd be positive by $88 on both the week and the day, right? So we can, if it worked out, it would close strong. But if I was willing to push past this and try to go for a 10R trade, obviously I'll show you how I could kind of pull off something like this. If gold cooperates with me today, that'll be awesome. If it does, then I'll be able to find a way around it. Now we are about to approach 8:30, and that's my concern. So we'll see what happens. I just hope that as soon as 8:30 hits, or 9:30 if you're in Central Standard Time, that it doesn't just like take me out completely without giving me a chance to, drive the price lower. So that is the concern about this trade. But either way, I'm willing to take that risk because the setup can be pretty clean if it cooperates with me today. Just keep in mind that as soon as 8:30 hits, that would be the beginning of the New York session, which tends to be very volatile. That's why I'm keeping my risk very low, just in case. But if it does fill and pushes down, then I absolutely want to try to take advantage of that move, because that could be a game-changing move. Okay? So with that being said, we have 10 minutes before the New York session. So we're going to have to keep an eye on gold, try to see if it will fill this gap and push down. So that's the goal. We're anticipating that if it pushes or fills this gap, it will hold, prevent it from taking out the swing high and drive price even lower. But again, this is gold and we are approaching the New York session, so you could easily blow past it. I'm also looking at silver as well. Just in case I don't get an entry, I'm going to see if I can get an entry on silver. I would put it at 2 micros as well on silver. So I'm just going to go to SIL, replicate it so I know on average how much those 2 contracts would cost me. I want to limit it to 2 micros. I don't want to push it past that, just because I do need to give myself a cushion just in case if I'm wrong. And if I am, then I can be able to stomach the hit. I'll probably, if I don't find any good setup, I'll try to take one more and call it a day if it doesn't work out. So hopefully this time it does it in a way that is not too crazy, but we will see. That's part of this trading stuff. Is I really, with that one, if I did 2 of them, it would be a little bit pricier. But if I kept it even at $85, it's really not that bad. Even for a micro, just even $85 if I put it on one. So if I had to, I would just put 1 micro for SIL, which is like about $85. And for gold, it would have to be 2, which is what I have, which is 108.48 to keep it low. And again, we are about to approach that New York session hour. And here is where we'll have to see if it will cooperate with us or if it will just blow past this stop. If it blows past this stop, that will be the second loss for the day. And then we'd have to have one more shot. Hopefully, I don't have to use number 3. But if I have to, I'm going to have to. I just have to wait and see. Hopefully, it'll work out. But hey, that's trading sometimes. It's just I'm more concerned about the volatility of that New York Open because sometimes it can get kind of crazy. And I hate to be in that situation. So I'm just trying to think what would be the right move here. Should I wait until 8:55 or should I take that chance, enter, and then continue down? That's the $1 million question that I've been trying to think about all during this whole scenario. Because it could go, fill, and drive down and miss a really good trade. But at the same time, it could go open, take out that high, and just keep pushing hard. So it's a catch-22, but based on the risk that I have put on, based on the fact that there's no red folder news event, I'm willing to take a chance on that trade, specifically with gold. So it's just going to be a waiting game. We're just going to have to keep our fingers crossed and hopefully that as New York session opens, it doesn't open so aggressively to take out the swing high, which is going to be at 406.5.7. So $4,065.70. So if it can just slowly go in and then drive, that'll be perfect. But if it just opens 8:30 and starts to do some crazy stuff and takes us out, it is what it is. But the setup is textbook to the max, like super textbook. So I literally have to at least put myself in that position to take that trade. So that's with silver. And then if you take a look, the same thing is happening with gold. The bearish sawdust are above. You have it being below the 50 EMA. So there's a good chance it will hopefully hold, but there are literally no guarantees because of how volatile the New York session open truly can be. So this one is basically following the saying of risk it for the biscuit because this is the risk, but the risk is still okay for me personally. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so in 5 minutes, we'll see if it will have been the right decision or not. Okay, that volatility is getting kind of crazy. Just in case this one doesn't work out, I do have one more setup on CL, but it's still cooking. It needs to kind of form. And there is a setup also on 6E as well. So that one I'm just keeping on the side just in case the other one doesn't work out. I have a backup plan on 6E, but I do need it to sweep. So we'll come back to this if we have to, but ideally I still want to take that gold trade. It is a little bit high risk, but the way I'm mitigating my risk is I'm keeping my micros down to about 108.48. And if I were to go with the silver option, then that would only be 1 micro at 85. So Let's see what happens. It's gonna be in 3 minutes time. Okay, let's see. Let's see what happens. Now, keep in mind, if this price action hits the bottom of the box, the game or the play is over. But what we're hoping is with the open of the New York session that it will push up, fill the gap, hold the gap, and then drive back down. If it does that, then we could have an awesome sauce play, but we got to wait it out. Two minutes until New York open. So there's going to be a flood of volume coming in. So we have to keep that in mind. I'm going to go to the official chart. I'm going to refresh. And I need to go to MGC. One more minute until New York open. Let's see what it does. Okay, so with it going, it's gonna most likely hit the bottom of the box real soon. We'll see. We have a lot of volatility coming in. If it hits the bottom of this box, we'll have to cancel. Let me also have my trigger right here, just in case. Okay, so it's doing its thing. Let's see what price does. So it seems that there's a lot of bearish momentum going into gold. Now, I don't think we'll have the opportunity for it to go back and fill the gap and drive the price back down. But again, you never know. Until it hits this spot, the game is still on, or the play is still on until that happens. When it comes to CL, it has already most likely hit, so that would be invalidated, or that wouldn't be an opportunity for me to take. But gold is still there. But based on the momentum, I feel like it'll keep pushing down. But just in case it has that slim chance of pushing all the way, filling that gap, we want to be ready for that. and plays over. Okay, so basically with this one, the bearish momentum was just too strong. It just caused the price to just go all the way down. So plays over. Yeah, that would have been nice, but with my system, it requires me to get the gap fill, then drive price down. So in this case, it did tap it, drove the price down, but did not fill it to drive the price down. It's just one of those opportunities that was missed. It's all good. We're just going to have to look for another setup. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to look towards 6E to see if there's any entry that I can take advantage of. So here we go. Now it has swept the bottom of the box, which is fine. I needed to form a bullish fair value gap. And also I needed to close inside of the box. So this one might present an opportunity, but we'll see. I also need to set a timer because I don't want to do it in a way where I forget I gotta go to work at some point. So give me a second on this. Okay. All right, let's take a look and see what happens next. Yep, the only thing that is showing right now is possibly 6E, but it needs to form a bullish fair value gap since we're trying to push it up. The reason why I was looking at the 6E trade is it's above the 50 EMA, and the bullish parabolic star dots are at the bottom. So hopefully they can close above, push upwards instead of it ranging. So that is a possibility. We'll see what happens with this one though. I'll keep an eye on CL. I know we have 30 more minutes, but I'm hoping that in the next 30 minutes, it will sweep the bottom. So if it sweeps the bottom, it might form a bullish fair value gap that I could enter on. But we'll see what happens next with that one. Still taking a look at the 6E trade just to see how it's doing. Right now, it hasn't shown me any signs of creating a bullish fair value gap, but we're still pretty early. Right now, we're at 8 or 9:35. So we still have time. It's just we are not sure yet. So we're just going to have to wait. As you can see, gold is plunging down. It keeps going down and down and down. Now, my only regret is I wish this candle right here, the 920, had filled the gap, because it would have just gone down and gotten the trade rolling. But that is the risk. Whenever we have to do this 5-minute gap and fill, you can miss out on opportunities like this. But I would rather stick to this strategy and just keep waiting for gap and fill trades, because they tend to give me better high risk to reward setups. So at the moment, I haven't found any other new fresh CRT setups that are worth taking yet, but we still got we got some time. So I'm just going to check and see. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on this one. So this was the 9:40 a.m. candle. So what I'm hoping is between 9:45 to 9:55, the candles were going to go inside of the box at least, form a bullish fair value gap first, and then close inside of the box. If it can do that, then I'm willing to take a trade on this, and then I may have to call it a day if I'm able to enter into this trade. So we'll see what happens. I just have to keep an eye on this. In regards to the NQ, again, for me personally, I'm staying clear from this just because this can get kind of messy. You see how the SAR dot is right there? There's a good chance it could easily just reverse and keep plunging down. Now, for me personally, I don't want to take that chance because it's just more of a very high risk situation, and it wouldn't even be according to my game plan anyway. So that's why I'm not trading the NQ or ES for today. Next thing though, I'm looking is to see if it'll give me another entry, but I don't know if SIL or GC will give me another entry that I could use to take advantage of this bearish downward trend. Because it tried to attempt to do it over here, but it didn't go all the way up here, so I couldn't take advantage of it. And it tried to do it here, but it already hit the spot before it could fill me in. So we'll see what happens with this, but I feel like most likely we won't be able to take advantage of this bearish movement today because it's not giving me a CRT setup that I can take advantage of. So just going to have to keep it on the side. And with these other ones, I'm not seeing any clean setups. The only setup that could possibly be good is this candle right here. Sweeps the bottom, closes in, then I could go bullish. But that might be a little bit tougher. It might most likely do what's called a liquidity run, where it'll just keep pushing through. And if it does that, then there's no real setup. On the 6E, this is looking like it's not going to be able to hold. But we still always have that opportunity to try the next hour and push. But the way it's moving, I don't think it will be able to close inside of the box. Because this is the 9:45 candle. It would take a huge amount of bullish momentum to push it all the way close to the box. And if it can, then I can be able to consider an entry. But when it's all the way down here, the odds are for the price to close in here are going to be a little bit slimmer. But it's not yet over, so we'll just have to see what happens. I think this microphone has been on mute the whole time. Oh my goodness, that sucks. Okay. No problem. I think what I'll have to do next time is I have to be taking a look at this microphone, at least glancing at it just to make sure that that doesn't happen again. I'm sorry, guys, but I think right now what I'm simply saying is, oh man, I can't believe that this happened. Okay, so next time when I'm looking, I'll have to be occasionally looking at the microphone a little bit just to see if I'm on, because sometimes I have to put the microphone on mute just to do some other stuff. But at the moment, I'm looking at 6E just to see if it will give us an opening. And unfortunately, it does not seem like it will give us an opening that we need to go long, which is not a problem. We just have to keep hunting for another setup. I'm going to put this on pause real quick. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to look to see if we have any new setups that we can take advantage of. So over here, we're looking at this hourly candle at the 9 a.m., but it's most likely going to sweep the bottom, which means there wouldn't be any entry for our particular CRT setup. So that would also most likely apply to GC. So with that being said, the only thing I could think of is I'm going to have to look and see if there's any ticker that is giving me at least a good setup to try to use right now. Let's say, for example, you have the RTY. The only concern that I have with the RTY is it sometimes will do or move in a way that goes against NQ and ES, so it tends to be a little bit tougher to trade that sequence, and it would be a counter trend trade if I tried to do that. Same thing with YM. Again, it is showing me a bearish, well, not a bearish, but it's showing me the bearish sort dots above it, and I do see the fair value gap underneath. Not fair value gap, actual gap underneath it. So with these two, it's kind of on that tricky side because I would have to then go counter trend, and I don't like doing that at all. So I'm going to look and see if there's any possibility of catching a good setup. I'm going to draw another box right here on 6E just to try to see if there is an opening. And I'll also look at another ticker called 6N, see if it gives me any possible entries that I can take advantage of. There's nothing on 6N that I like, so I'll probably skip that. With this one, with crude oil, it's going to be a little tricky for sure because it's most likely going to sweep the top of that 9 a.m. hourly candle. So if it sweeps the top and the bullish star dots are underneath, it's going to be a conflict of interest. So I'm going to have to kind of stay away from that setup for right now. The only setup right now that looks closer to a textbook setup is most likely going to be the 6E, but it has to still sweep the bottom, form that bullish fair value gap, and then I can enter and push upwards. We do have the parabolic star dots at the bottom, which indicates bullish momentum. We are above the 50 EMA, which is, in my opinion, helps to gauge bullish directional bias. So I should be trying to go long than going short. So whenever these two are aligning, it tends to be a much better setup in the over a long series of trades. But at the moment, we're just having to wait and see if it will form a bullish fair value gap after sweeping the bottom of this 9 a.m. candle. Okay, so with this setup right here, it is a counter trend move setup that I'm anticipating. Here's what I'm considering, because right now I'm looking at gold. I know this thing is most likely going to probably hit 150 at some point. Silver is going down, but copper is just hovering. Ultimately, the bearish sword dots have shifted, but it's still technically on a bullish trend in terms of like a bullish directional bias. So it is a little bit tricky because this is going to be a counter trend setup. Like I've said in the past, I hate counter trend setups because they get kind of tricky. But based on what I'm seeing, they could be an opportunity to short, but we'll see what happens with this one because this one's a tricky one. It's like my gut says it'll most likely follow the direction of gold, which is bearish. But I don't know if I have a clean setup for me to actually enter on it. And I really don't want to be breaking my rules because I'm not supposed to be taking counter trend setups. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go old school and see if I can get a setup that will sweep this candle right here on the next hour. So you see we're on the 10 a.m. Eastern hourly candle. So this would be my designated accumulation hour. I will put in my manipulation hour right here. So goal is, even though it's going down, hopefully it will retrace, form a bearish fair value gap for me to drive down. Same concept applies to silver as well. Because I definitely know that there's a lot more bearish momentum than bullish momentum in this scenario. When it comes to the FX list, honestly, there's no clean play that I personally like. So I'm going to put that one at the bottom of the list. I'm going to take a look at CL and C. So CL technically has not swept the top. So there's a good chance, slim chance, but a good chance it will go, take out the low, form a bullish fair value gap that I can enter on to continue upward. However, whenever it's this close to the top, it will most likely keep going up, but we'll see. So I'll definitely keep an eye on CL, and I'll keep an eye on 6E as well. So I'm going to put a little timer on it. So right now I am looking at CL. My goal or my hope is that when it sweeps the bottom of this 9 a.m. accumulation hour, that will form a bullish fair value gap that I can enter on to drive price back up to the top of the accumulation hour where we have the buy stops. Because like I've mentioned before on the stream, every hour on the 5-minute time frame ends at 9:55. You see this candle right here? It never swept this one. It pushed it all the way down. So if it can keep pushing all the way down, sweep here, form that bullish fair value gap, then there's a possible chance that we can enter and drive it back up. But we have to be patient and wait for it. Okay, guys, I've been taking a look at this price action. I don't think I will be able to get another CRT set up by the time I need to get to go to work. So I think this will just wrap up the stream. So let's look at what we did today. So today we took a trade on the Swiss franc. Now the setup before I stopped out was going to be for about a 4.88R. The setup looked good, but unfortunately we were swept out. So in that case, I'm gonna have to log that trade into my TradeZilla. I'll do all that stuff after stream, but right now we are down on the day at 159.72. I'm trying to take a look at it. I may glance at this maybe a little bit later, but for right now, I'm gonna have to put it in as a loss of 159.72 on both accounts. So that means for the week, at the moment, we're down 159.72. So the goal is with the next 4 days, we can make up for this loss today. And we will just have to try to figure out or position ourselves for good CRT setups. I may take a CRT setup off stream, but for right now, just for the record to show, it is 159.72. If I do find one, like before I get to go to work, then, I'll probably take it. But for right now, it stands at 159.72 loss on the day. But if I do some way, somehow find a good setup that does work out in my favor, definitely it'll be recorded here. You can always check out my stats every time you click on the link in the description. So it's always there for you to check it out. But I think this wraps it up. And I'll see you on the Asia stream. Hopefully Asia will provide some good setups, or London stream tomorrow. So with that being said, enjoy the day and remember to trade responsibly. Peace.